would be up waiting for you if you had to leave. I would wait a lifetime if you were at sea. I just wanna say that I feel that our love is real. Maybe we should hurry up and seal the deal. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better. 'Cause a love like this is rare. And I wanna take you there. I would give it all away to do it all again. Make our love a story that would never end. Never thought I'd feel so alive, looking in your eyes. I just wanna love you till the day I die. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better. 'Cause a love like this is rare. And I wanna take you there. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. If I'm gonna love somebody, I just wanna love you. Oh, oh, I just wanna love you right. Oh, oh, love you till the end of time. I just wanna hold you for forever. Every day you're making me better. 'Cause a love like this.
Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. I love that that everyone's saying hi to Joseph's mom. Like, how fantastic is that? It basically doesn't get better. George is hoping for a cat sighting of John's, and we might end up, I don't know, if the universe aligns the right way, we might end up with double cat sightings tonight because Emmy is in the window, and sometimes if she starts to hear me talk, it could happen. It could happen. And I did hear a rumor that one of John's cats might be under his desk. So there you have it. So awesome to see you all. That's so great. You needed this song tonight? Yes, Sabina. This song is like just sort of like a butter. I feel like Jules, I feel like this would play at Tort in the background, right? And then Cody could come and do an acoustic performance while everybody has lattes and everything. Yeah. Good evening to everybody. I'm happy that Houston, it sounds like, evaded a storm, so we'll talk about that. But I love that we've got like Houston 2.0 here in Ashland too. It's like our Texas and Oregon worlds have collided. Have I told that story before? Whenever my books sell in audio, the audio narrator will reach out and ask for specific pronunciations. And my big thing is always like, it's Oregon, not Oregon, it's Oregon. I don't think you have that problem in Houston and Texas, but you know. My big exciting news is I'm just back for my first real in-person book club in a year and a half. I had the most fantastic time with this great book club up at a golf course in Medford, and I'm still sort of like, did that really happen? Is this what used to happen? So, yeah, craziness.
Whoa.
Let's see. Bethany, you're watching from Australia. Hello from Victoria, Australia. Yeah? Is that Vic? Am I getting that right? I spent 6 months backpacking through New Zealand and Australia when I was in college, and I loved it so much. And that actually became the inspiration for my very first mystery series that I wrote. So, greetings. I know, Lenny. Can you believe book clubs in real life? It was stunning. It was shocking. It was so fun. But I'm even more excited for tonight. I am not going to chat that much because I want to get right to my guest. Some of you, many of you may already know him, but if you are unfamiliar with the international man of mystery, the king of the cozies, I can't think of any other clever idioms off the top of my head, but I'm so excited to welcome John from John's Cozy Corner on to the live tonight, and we're going to get right to all the good bookish stuff. Hi, John.
Hello, thanks for having me.
George called you a bookie. I like that. My favorite bookie, like. Mhm.
So George and I used to actually work together at Borders 100 years ago. So that's how I know George, and he's a regular customer at Murder by the Book too.
Whoa.
But yeah, so George
Well, that's going to lead in perfectly to my first question. Before we get to that, Rana needs to know what's the name of the song. It's Rare Love, right? Rare Love by Cody Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Cody Francis. Rare Love by Cody Francis. So there could be a cat sighting.
Yeah.
It's possible.
They're hanging out around here, so I'm sure.
Okay, excellent. And you're fine for weather.
Yeah, we're good. They apparently the storm, which happens, I didn't realize that there was a chance it was going to become a hurricane. So all of a sudden they were like, hey, it's a hurricane, but it ended up skirting the coast. So like Galveston and the coastal areas got hit with some flooding and some rain issues. Here it was just a lot of wind overnight. So last I checked, they were able to get power restored to most people in the area. So there are still some people that potentially don't have power and probably some downed trees and power lines and stuff, but we were really, really lucky.
That's awesome. So I see a lot of Houston names and faces on the lives. You're getting lots of shout outs. But for anyone who's not familiar with John works by day at a little store that maybe you've heard of called Murder by the Book. And then he moonlights at night as John's Cozy Corner. Although, not really, it's your side gig. You're a book slinger turned cozy mystery influencer, and I have so many questions to ask you. But if you don't know John, you need to, because amazingly, he knows basically everything there is to know about mystery cozies in particular, but you can hook anybody up with basically any mystery that's out there on the shelves. Am I right, or am I right?
No,
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. And
Yeah.
if not, I know where to figure out the answer. So
Exactly. What's that? Oh,
I've got it.
The tech guy's gonna do the questions tonight.
You can go from now, but I had to
Okay.
get that one.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe you just want to take it over. Okay, so I know this already, that you got your start at Borders, and now we know that George did too, the Secret Border Society. But I'm curious, is that how you started in on the cozy? When did the cozy get involved?
So it wasn't actually I got the job at Murder by the Book I started going to a lot of events at the store, mostly urban fantasy, because it's a lot of what I was reading at the time. And at one event, the store owner, after it was done, sent me a message on Twitter and was like, hey, what other stuff do you like to read? And I replied at that point, I was reading lots of urban fantasy and historical mysteries, like Amelia Peabody, the Elizabeth Peters books. And so she was like, hey, if you ever want to, leave Borders, give me a call. So at that point, I hadn't really read many cozy mysteries. And when I got started, so I've been there since May of 2010. And when I got started, Miranda James, aka Dean James, he writes as Miranda, had been the store manager there for many, many years, and he was about to launch his Cat in the Stacks series. And David, who was the previous publicity manager, gave me a copy of one of Dean's first books in his series, the Simon Kirby Jones books, which were about a gay vampire solving mysteries in a little town in England. And I loved it. And I didn't realize that cozy mysteries were a thing. And so from there, I picked up Victoria Laurie's Ghost Hunter ones, because I loved anything paranormal. And it just kind of snowballed from there. It was these are fantastic. And I just couldn't get enough of them.
I know. Once you start, it's a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Problematic. I want to say to everybody too, I have questions already ready for John, but then I promise that I will open it up at the end. So if you have specific questions for him, put them in the comments with like a Q or, question mark first, and the tech guy will start putting those out because I'm seeing some come through. Lisa loves Dean James. Wow, yes, right? I mean, come on. If that's how you get your cozy start.
Yeah, he's the best. Like he said before, like he's like an older brother to me. He doesn't live here in town anymore. He's in Mississippi. We were actually going to try to relaunch in-store events at the store with him when the new book came out in September. And unfortunately, with spiking COVID cases, we had to cancel, and we were really bummed to not get to see him. But yeah, he's fantastic. And I mean, I think I know a lot about mysteries, but Dean knows pretty much everything about every mystery ever published. It's crazy.
Is it like intimidating then to go toe to toe?
Oh, I wouldn't even try. I wouldn't even try.
No, it's not even worth it. Yeah. You'd get killed. George just finished the Southern Ladies series by Dean. There you go.
Yeah, and he was so kind. This is a slight brag, but it's really cool. He was so kind. So the newest Cat in the Stacks book with the cat dragged in just came out at the beginning of September, and he was super kind. He dedicated it to my husband Matt and I, which was, as a lifelong book lover and a cozy reader too, it was just kind of the coolest thing in the world.
But that reciprocation should come back to you because you've done so much for the cozy world over the years too. So it's all cyclical. Well deserved. Which leads me to my next question. I mean, I'm not kidding about the fact that, you are immersed in the book world. What readers might not understand too is, like, for John, and you can talk about this a little bit, being on the book side of things, like, you're also getting advanced copies from editors all the time. Like, there's so much more than just like, oh, hey, I'm going to go get this book off the shelves for you. So you're a busy guy. Like, you got a lot going on. And then you decided I'm going to launch my own thing on the side. Like, what prompted that?
Yeah, part of it was we had created a little display in the bookstore, John's Cozy Corners, so a little spinner rack, four-sided spinner rack that I just started putting cozies on, and they started selling. And once the pandemic hit, March of last year, like, people were just looking for these comfort reads, and like people would come in, and that's what they wanted to read. And we had been talking, we have unofficially had a cozy subscription service. The author Helen Ellis had come to visit and was like, oh, I wish you could send me a cozy every month. I'm like, oh, I can easily do that. And so had told before, like, you need to take this wider, you need to do this wider. So McKenna, the store owner, had been talking about wanting to start so Calvin is now chewing on the cord from my light ring. So
that sounds about right. Calvin,
I'm going to grab him so that way he doesn't pull the light ring off.
Oh, there it is. We got one.
There's one. So McKenna had talked about had been talking for years about starting a subscription box. I was like, well, we need to do a cozy one. And so since I was reading so many cozies, even more than I was before, to find titles for the subscription box, and with the advent of being able to do these virtual events, some of the most well-attended ones that we've done for the books have been cozy events. And I think it's because, and I said this on lots of the events that we've done, a lot of times with cozy mysteries being coming out as mass market originals, you wouldn't really necessarily get to see a cozy author tour, because the tour budget, you have to sell a lot of $8 books to make a tour worth it for those. So if an author lived in your area, you would probably get to see them talk. But if you lived in another part of the country, probably not. So since we were getting so many people tuning in and I was reading so many of them, it just seemed like a great idea. And also, we had just hired somebody to help do some of the social media stuff for the store. So since we had somebody taking care of all of that, and I didn't have to be creative specifically for the bookstore's Instagram, it kind of freed up, I think, a little bit of brain space for me to try to do something on my own too.
That's awesome. And you already have like such a plethora of information in terms of the genre that it's not like it's a hard sell probably.
Right.
To, like, okay, I can use this little part of my brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. So on that note, it's like you're working at the bookshop by day. You've got John's Cozy Corner going on the side. Like, at what point is it too many? Like, does Matt come in and go, okay, I need you to stop with the mysteries. Let's start there, and then we'll get into a book slump in a second. Like,
he doesn't anymore, and part of that is he just finished his grad school program. Like, he actually just got his diploma in the mail today, which is really cool. But so he's been so busy with that, and when he wasn't reading for like school, he would have his headphones on and he would be watching YouTube. So when he needed to decompress, like if I was just sitting over there reading, or like I would just be watching TV, because I'm one of those weird people that can actually like read with other noise going on. So I like might just turn on the TV for background noise and read. So no, when I first started working at the store and was reading a ton, he would be like, okay, I need you to put down the book. But I've been there long enough, and it's sort of my kind of come home and have some quiet time thing. So I don't get much pushback from him if I'm sitting on the couch with my nose in a book.
You're good. The tech guy is nodding along. He can do the same thing. I cannot. I need quiet. I can't even listen to music when I'm reading.
George
It
says
depends.
congrats.
Oh, thanks, George. It depends on the music. And speaking of music, I think I love the song that we were bopping to before we started. So I think that you need to put together a like would play at Tort Spotify playlist so people can like pretend they're there. I think
Okay.
that needs to happen.
Yes, done. There might be some Harry Styles on that.
Yeah.
That could be just a couple. But I mean, like it's a lot of cozy reading, and I feel like from my perspective, and I've been really honest with readers about this too, like it's really hard for me to read specifically cozies, but sometimes just any mystery if I'm writing myself. Like that's why I tend to read a lot of sci-fi and historical and other stuff. So you're just reading a lot of them. Like, do you get to a burnout point? Like, is it still a source of joy, or at what point are you like, ah?
It's a little bit of both. So one of the things I did over the last year was I completely reread all of the Leslie Meyer, Lucy Stone mysteries, which if you guys follow me on Twitter, you've seen.
There are a lot.
There are a lot of them. There are 27 books in the series, and there are like 8 novellas that go with it. And I've literally read all of them since September of last year. But they're crazy because she breaks all of these cozy rules. Like in the first book, like 2 animals don't make it to the end of the book. There's a dog shot on screen in the first book. So I tell people don't start with the first one. Don't start with the first one. But like they're so bonkers that it was like, they were a really good palate cleanser. And yeah, so you do get burnout sometimes. I know that we've talked about this on Instagram when you've asked people, not just cozies, but specifically sometimes just mysteries in general. A lot really early in the pandemic, there were a lot of people that were having a hard time reading, and that wasn't me. I was like, oh, no problem. And I was like kicking along until probably like maybe the last month or two, when I was finding that I would get like 200 pages into a book that I was loving. And then like, I was loving this yesterday, but I don't want to pick it up again. So then I kind of start reading outside the genre. Like I kind of dipped back into some urban fantasy stuff, which luckily we have a nice urban fantasy readership at the store. It's also tricky, with so many new books coming out, not just cozies, but just other mysteries in general. You want to kind of keep up with what's happening, but at the same time, anything that you read that's not something that you're potentially going to sell at the store, you're taking away from something. So that was kind of one of the things about the Leslie Meyer series, it being kind of such an older series that I could just kind of dig into. They're not all of them are in print. It was just something that I could just kind of read for the enjoyment of it, and not, oh, what customer am I going to sell this to? I also recently, like in the last, 2 weeks, have completely fallen in love with these like Halloween rom-coms that are coming out later this year, which they're so cozy. There's just not a murder in them. It's, they're kissing instead of trying to solve a mystery. So I've read like 2 of those in the last 2 weeks, and like I just can't get enough of them. So it's all about, I think for me, just trying to find something else that like I can sit down and read and take a little bit of a break.
I love that so much. Rom-coms kind of saved me this summer. That and like the Martha Wells Murder Bot, that got me out of my slump. But I do not know about Halloween rom-coms. We're going to need to have a little more information on that. Let's go.
So there's one coming out on September 28th called The X-Hex by Aaron Sterling, which is actually a pseudonym for an author, Rachel Hawkins, who did YA and has transitioned into adult thrillers. And it's about this girl who has come back to her, like any good cozy, she's come back to her small town. She doesn't want to come back because, she has a broken heart. But she comes back and, mischief happens, and she realizes that like the guy that broke her heart is now back in town, and something happens that they have like broken magic and need to fix it. So that's the X-Hex. And then the other one that I just finished is called Payback's a Witch.
Yes. They even have cozy titles. Come on. Yeah.
And so that one's by Lana Harper, and it's also about a witch who has given up her kind of powers and moved to Chicago, comes back to her small town because she has to be the arbitrator in this, like, essentially like the Tri-Wizard tournament, like thing where these families have to compete for like which magical family is going to be in charge of magic in the town for like the next 25 years. And so that one's called Paybacks of Witch, and I think it comes out October 5th. And also, I mean, they're, small town, they have like all of the beats of a good cozy mystery. There's just no murder in them. So yeah, I've just like inhaled those like in the last like week and a half.
That is so awesome. Lorraine needs to know what's a rom-com.
So like so a romantic comedy, think, a movie that's going to star like Sandra Bullock or Reese Witherspoon, just kind of a
Tom
fluffy
Hanks.
romantic comedy. Tom Hanks, one of those. So yeah, just, usually there's
And
like
they're
some
not
kind of,
usually super spicy.
no, yeah, they're, just kind of light, kind of fun. I would say probably about the same, like I said, like a cozy mystery kind of, essentially basically any Hallmark movie that you watch that's not a Hallmark movie mystery, that's a rom-com.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good description. Anna Louise says she got an arc of, I think the Hex X. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
Also, I can't even put up the number of comments that came in. People love his idea about tort playlists.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that, Jim. I'm on it. In all my spare time. Okay, so this is kind of shifting gears back to your Instagram, which I've seen a lot of people asking for that. I promise at the end we're going to share it, and the tech guy then will post about it too after the live. But how do you feel about sort of like the trend of aesthetics, like in the Bookstagram and Book Talk, like, because now you're entering that fray. Do you feel like it's important, or you're like, dude, I've been doing this for like, a lot of years. I don't need a perfect picture to go along with whatever, I'm sharing about.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I put off doing because I've been talking about specifically doing a specific book one that wasn't just my personal one, because of course I share book recommendations on my personal one all the time. But I think one of the reasons why I had held off doing it is because I felt that pressure to have like an aesthetic for it. And like, I don't have a ton of props, but at the same time, I didn't want to go spend money on a bunch of props, because the last thing I need in my house is more tchotchkes, because as a bookseller, you get all kinds of like random book swag stuff too that comes home with you, and then it comes home and you're like, oh, this was really cute when I was in the bookstore. What am I going to do with this?
Right.
So I think they're great, and I think it's really cool when people can do it. And I think it's awesome to look at like somebody's Instagram feed and kind of see. What really impresses me are the people that like shift theirs, where they're like, oh, this is my aesthetic for like a couple of months, and then they shift to something else, and you scroll back through their food. But I also think part of it was, like you said, kind of being at the bookstore during the day. If we wanted to post something on the store's Instagram, you didn't have time to set up like the perfect shot. You had to get something that was going to look good and it would kind of convey the message, but like you didn't have time to be like, oh, I have to tweak this and tweak this. And I think I have all the respect for people that are able to do that. But when you're also trying to like answer the phone and help customers, it's kind of impossible. So I think having to do it for the store too, and not having quite the time that I would love to spend doing it, I think that kind of helped get over my needing to find a specific aesthetic.
Totally. I mean, I feel like it's shifting too. I feel like there's more of an embrace of like being a bit more authentic, and in that authenticity, like I know that there are lots of bookstagrammers who that's their artistic outlet too, which is totally awesome and different than feeling the pressure of like, oh my gosh, I have to have the perfect picture before I can post something.
And I know it's not all about, it's not all about getting likes. It's about being able to share stuff. But, there's nothing more frustrating than, okay, I spent an hour setting up this perfect picture and posted it, and it has like 3 likes. And then you're like, oh, I snapped this picture of a bookcase in like 2 seconds, and now it has like 700.
Yeah, right. Always. That is just the law of averages. It does not fail. Okay. This is a loaded question, but do you judge a cozy by its cover? It kind of, dogtails our last one.
Yes, I mean, I think everybody does. I think that there are, and I'm not going to name specifics, but I think there are some publishers that nail
Name some
their
specific.
Yeah, so I won't say specifics, but I think that there are some. Afterwards, I'll say specifics. There are some publishers that I think that nail them, and there are some that come close. So, I mean, if you've been in the book industry for a while, you can generally tell like what publisher has a cozy cover. And I think one of the things that tricky to say, but a couple of years ago, Berkeley cut their list like drastically. They were publishing like 600 cozies a year, and they dropped to like 200. But I think one of the things that was maybe a benefit to that is so many other publishers got into the cozy game. And I think that because they saw what Berkeley was doing with their covers, I will say I think like Berkeley and St. Martin's Minotaur, I think kind of do the best covers out there. But I think a lot of other publishers saw what they were doing, and once they realized that they were going to be inheriting potentially some of these other series, I think kind of really stepped up their game too.
Yeah, totally. I want to find the person who says that they don't judge a book by its cover, because
Right.
Yeah. And I've
There's
been
a
on
lot-
the. Say that again.
There's a lot of time and effort and marketing budget that goes into them, so you will judge them by their cover. Like that's what they're there for.
Yeah, and I got a couple series that I have hated my covers, and I don't feel like they were a reflection of what the content of the books are. And then I've had covers that I've loved, so I've been on both sides of it. And I have to say, as an author, you usually don't get much say, unfortunately. So.
Well, and I've seen as a bookseller, I've seen what covers can do for books. Like Deanna Rayburn, who I absolutely adore, wrote these really great Lady Julia Gray mysteries, and the first couple of them had mysteries, but then they revamped the covers to make them look a little bit more bodice rippery, which made it harder for us to sell to mystery fans, because they were like, that's a romance book. And there have been a couple of times where there's a book that I've been really interested in going through a publisher catalog and being like, oh, that cover is terrible. We can't, if we bring that in, we're not going to sell it. And I've emailed sales reps before and just said, hey, you guys, I realize it's late in the process, but as a bookseller, like, you might want to
What are you doing?
This cover.
Yeah.
It's not working. Yeah.
It's not working. I love the Lady Julia Gray series so much. If you haven't read that, like, go get those, especially if you need like something to devour. They're just genius. So good. So good. Okay. You have interviewed, speaking of like a Deanna Rayburn, you've interviewed like basically every big time author in the mystery genre over the years. I'm super curious if you ever gush. Do you like totally fanboy out, or are you just always like super chill, like, oh, okay, no big deal. So and so.
The first time they're still, I'm so lucky to have gotten to meet and be friends with so many authors. But like the first time I met Louise Penny, like everybody had been talking about how wonderful she was, and I read like the first 3 or 4 books in those series, and I was nervous about meeting her. But I think that the one, like the most nervous I've been about an author is Arturo Perez Reverte, who writes these really great, they're translated from Spanish. He writes these really great kind of Dan Brown-esque kind of really smart literary thrillers. And he was one of my favorite mystery authors before I really felt like I was kind of really reading mysteries, like back when I was working on Borders. And so I got an email from his publicist at one point saying like, hey, we want to send him on tour. Would you guys be interested? And I'm like, oh, I've requested him for events before, never thinking it. I literally asked the publicist like 3 times, like over the phone. I was like, I'm sorry, are you serious?
Is this real life? Yeah.
Then we weren't sure, since the books were translated into English from Spanish, was he even going to speak English when he came to the store, because he lives in Spain and doesn't really do a whole lot of kind of US touring, anything like that. And so it turned out he didn't. He traveled with a translator, which kind of helped, I think, tamp down a little bit of the like, yeah, but I was so like, so yeah, there are definitely moments still where you get to fanboy. Like the first time I met Tasha Alexander, who also writes similar stuff to Deanna Rayburn. Like I had been chatting with her online for years, been reading the book. So like the first time she came into the store, it was like big hugs all around, and I still look forward to every one of her new books. So it's kind of still really cool to actually get to kind of be the fanboy as a reader and also kind of fanboy as a bookseller too.
Yeah, I don't know how you could play it cool. I would just be gushing over everyone, and then like, oh, I guess I have to work now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no big deal. Nothing.
We got to do a virtual event with Stephen King last fall, which like was just crazy. He was interviewing James Lee Burke, and he was really kind enough to let us log in like 15 minutes early with all of the booksellers, so we could all just like have a second to say hi and talk to him. And that was kind of a really cool fanboy moment too. Cause it's Stephen King. And the first time I met James Patterson too, like you realize like, I mean, anytime you're around James Patterson, you're like, oh my God, I'm in like the presence of like book royalty. But like the first time meeting him, that was definitely kind of like one of those overwhelming fanboy moments too.
Yeah, yeah. No big deal. George says that King interview was the best. That's awesome. Okay, what's next on my list? Since we're talking bookstores now, is there a best part of working at a bookstore? Like, is it that or is it something else?
Honestly, the best part is the community. The customers that come in, people like George, like I think I saw a couple of other familiar names for comments that were popping up. Every time we do live events, we get to see customer names. And that's one of the things that we miss so much right now about not being able to do author events. It's just the community that gets built around books. Getting to see people come to an event who might not know anybody there. So they come by themselves and then they start talking to the person next to them. And then, the next time that author comes through, you find out like, oh, they started talking then and now they go like have coffee and trade books. Just being able to be around that community and get to build that community, I think is really, really the best part of it.
So true. I mean, I feel like that about this group here. Like, everybody's connected and now we're all friends together and sharing books. And Jamie just hopped on, and John had 2 Halloween rom-coms for you. So you got to go back in the comments and look. She is the queen of Halloween. So there you have it. Is there a bad part of working at a bookshop? Is it just too many books all the time? Like, is that a thing?
I mean, I don't know that there's a bad part. I love my job, and if I wasn't doing this, I joke all the time, like I don't know what else I would do. Like I feel like this is what I was cut out for, so I don't know, like if I had to find another career, what that would even be. The bad part is just like the random stuff that people think, oh, you get to work in a bookstore, so you get to sit around and read all day, but they also don't realize like if there's a bathroom issue, you have to fix the toilet, or you have to clean the bathroom, or you have to change the light bulbs, or like remove the light covers and vacuum the dead bugs out of the lights. But I mean, like that's not my favorite part.
Don't take the magic out of the bookshop. Isn't there like some sort of like book fairy that does that for you?
That's me. I'm the book fairy
Yeah.
that does
That's it. That's the only bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and that's like...
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
those are
red book.
It took a while, and I think every bookseller learns this. It takes a while to, at some point, you have to just stop those searches. You're like, I don't have enough information. I'm never going to find this. Because if not, you'll just search and search until it makes you crazy.
I know. But then I feel like I would be a terrible match for that, because the mystery writer in me would be like, I got to figure this out. I got to solve, like, what is the red book? Like, yeah.
I will say one of the downsides to, I don't know if I would say it's a downside, but one of the things that's kind of difficult for having been a bookseller for now 11 years at Murder by the Book and 7 years at Border, so it'll be like 20 years real soon, is especially being a cozy reader, there are a lot of things that just kind of go out of print so quick. A lot of times an author will get contracted for like 3 books, and if those 3 books don't hit, then they potentially go away. So one of the things that I was trying to do when I started the Cozy Corner is every Thursday, I try to do a Throwback Thursday where I review an older series. And sometimes there's series that aren't in print. I try to do some current stuff too, so that way you're not trying to track down books that aren't available. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer when there's a book that you love and you find out that it's not available anymore and you can't put it in people's hands.
Yeah, totally. I know. And I mean, unfortunately, like the way that publishing works now, it's like, if it doesn't hit fast, which is not always fair, because sometimes a series like takes a while to build and grow, for sure.
Yeah.
Big time. Okay. Oh yeah. I shared a video about this, but I'm hearing on all sides, like there are huge supply chain issues coming, like at every level, from paper shortages to shipping, the whole thing. Like, are you hearing that as a bookseller, or like, what are you doing to compensate, and what do you recommend people do?
Yeah, it's definitely an issue, and it's been an issue. Like the publishing industry has just been kind of, I don't want to say in free fall, because that sounds like the sky is falling, but it's not been easy for the last 18 months, starting, last year when bookstores started closing temporarily for the pandemic, publishers started changing publication dates. There's a cardboard shortage. There's a paper shortage. I thought your video did a really great job of kind of explaining to everybody like what all of the different the issues are. And it's just kind of this big perfect storm. We're also seeing publication dates get changed. Sometimes it might just be like a week because they just can't get the books published in stores in time. We have an event set up with Reese Bowen for the store in October. And we already had the event set up and they were like, oh, by the way, the book's not going to come out for the following week. So we're like, well, we'll just have the event be a pre-release thing. So I think one thing everybody can do is, first and foremost, just be patient. Publication dates are changing. Sometimes we know that the dates are changing. Sometimes we don't until the book is supposed to come out and we're like, hey, where's that book? Pre-ordering is always important, whether there's a supply chain issue or not. One of the things that's so important about pre-ordering is it lets stores know if they have enough of a book on order. There have been times, because Murder by the Book specifically does mysteries, there are a lot of things that sometimes might be mystery. It might be kind of what I call mystery adjacent. So maybe it's not, if the book buyer, who is kind of the store owner, if she's looking at something, she might not think, hey, this doesn't have enough mystery element to it, I'm not going to bring it in. But if we start to have people coming in saying, hey, I'm hearing about this book, it's really great, then we'll take another look at it and we'll potentially bring it in. There have been a couple of things where we've upped our initial orders because people are excited about things. So pre-ordering makes a big difference. Another thing I said, be patient. Like if you're coming in and you're looking for something, if you're not in a hurry for a book, let your bookseller know that. I was in our local music store, Cactus Music, the other day to pick up a record. And I was talking with Quinn, the owner, and the music industry is having all kinds of issues as well. And he was like, very apologetic that they didn't have the record that I was looking for. And I said, like, look, like I will get it when you guys have it. It's fine. So if it's something that you don't need in a hurry, definitely let a bookseller know, hey, I'm waiting, because reprints can take a long time. Sometimes we don't know how long it's going to take. So let people know that you're not in a hurry. If you are in a hurry, maybe ask the bookseller if there's something similar that they could recommend. Gift cards are always great. We can create a certificate that can go with one that says, like, it would be like, oh, Ellie's buying you a copy of this book. We'll call you as soon as it comes in, so that way you can give the recipient something to unwrap.
That's great. I was just thinking a general gift card, but that's like next level. If you want to be like, hey, so I'm buying, Hex X for so-and-so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure other bookstores can try to figure something out that for you, but still, yeah, just be patient, pre-order. And there goes the ring light.
I love it. Because of the cat, or just because?
Because of the cat. Yeah, he went on it again. But yeah, so just be patient, and know that booksellers, it kills us if there's something that's not available that you want, we can't put it in your hands. So just know that the bookseller's just as frustrated with it as you are.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
I can't even imagine as an author right now hearing about all of this, what it's like. So we're all figuring it out together.
Yeah. I'm so excited for Reese's new holiday book. Mm-hmm. God Rest Ye Murdered Gentlemen. Is that right? Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, I can't wait. And Cherri wants to know if she's coming in person to the store.
She's not. Unfortunately, we don't have anything. We had like 4 events that we were trying to do in September on the calendar, and we had to cancel them all. At the moment, we tentatively have a local author on the schedule for January, and we're hoping that that's going to happen. But other than that, we're kind of really not talking about in-store stuff right now, because it was really hard for us to have to cancel those in-store things. We were kind of really looking forward to that as being sort of a symbol of things kind of starting to get back together. So that was definitely a low morale week for us. So at the moment, we're just kind of letting things play out and seeing what happens.
Okay, let's see. What do you think is the most surprising thing about the cozy world in general?
I think one of the most surprising things to me is how many of you are like 4 different people. Like every cozy author has like 3 pseudonyms. Generally if something comes in and it's not a name that I recognize, the first thing that we do is flip to the copyright page. Okay, who is this person really? I think that's surprising. And I think one of the things that surprised me maybe the most when I first started reading cozies. And it's kind of funny when I would start bringing these home, my husband Matt would joke. He was like, "Man, if the you that worked at Borders that was reading like literary fiction knew what you were reading right now, he would laugh at you." And it
Guys.
so cracks me up when like that somehow like cozy mysteries have sort of become like my Murder by the Book brand, which I never would have expected. But I think one of the things that surprised me the most is, as a non-reader before, is just how much heart they have in them. Like these books, like there's so many wonderful characters, and there's so much spirit in them. And I think, in the mystery world, when you're writing about you're writing about murder, and some of the books can be really heavy. It's really, I think it's really amazing that authors like you can take a story that has a dead body or several of them in there and still put so much heart and humor in them too. So I think that's the thing that I think surprises people the most about cozies, is just that they're not they're yes, they're fluff, but they also have some depth to them too.
Totally. Totes. On that note, what do you think is going to be the trend in the next few years? Like, I'm super curious about like where, because everything goes in cycles, right? There was the whole like post Twilight. My agent would say, I won't take anything that's like fangs in the neck, and now like you're seeing paranormal come back.
Mhm. I think one of the things that we're going to see a lot of, that I'm super excited about, is we're going to get to see more diverse voices in cozies.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that Gigi Pandian has her new series coming out in March.
Under Lock and Skeleton Keys, the first one. I got to read an early copy. So good.
It's sitting on my shelf. I haven't gotten to it yet because I'm still in that sort of like kind of book funk. So I'm waiting until like I'm
Yeah,
ready.
don't let that one be your book funk. No.
Oh, yeah, no. So like that, and Raquel Reyes has Mango Mambo and Murder coming out. Abby Colette's doing really great stuff. She's got a soul food mystery coming out. So I'm really hoping that people are seeing stuff like that, and just like the success of Vivian Chen's Noodle House mysteries that I love so much. So we can see some more cozies that aren't just all, older white women solving mysteries in predominantly white towns. And
Yes.
I know diversity is not a trend, but that's something that I'm super excited to see. Books like Mia Manansala's Arsenic and Adobo has been huge. So I'm excited to see more of that. And I'm also really excited to see that we're starting to see kind of more younger heroines in cozy mysteries, which we weren't seeing for a long time. They tended to be kind of older women of a certain age. And I think that the cozy kind of world in general has started to realize that there is a younger readership there, and it's been really great to see younger readers discover them as well.
So true, 100%. I think this is my last question, and then I know we have a lot of questions from everybody who's on. But we were talking about in-person events, and I mean, having been at an in-person book club today, that was like, is this real life? But I also think there's like an evolution that's happened, in part because of the pandemic, and maybe it would have happened anyway, and the pandemic sped it up, in how readers and authors and booksellers and everyone in the book world are engaging. And I'm curious from your end, and thinking about, sort of the future with John's Cozy Corner too, like, where do you see that going? Like, I can't imagine this going away either.
Oh yeah, I don't think
like
so
in-person events there's no more like online events. We're done because we're all back in person. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I think that hybrid is going to be the way. We haven't quite figured it out yet. When we knew that we were going to start doing some in-store stuff, we decided that we were just going to do in-store events. We weren't going to try to figure out how to stream the in-store stuff. We just wanted to have like those moments of being able to like be back in the bookstore with a regular author event. But I think that you're definitely going to see a lot of hybrid stuff. We're definitely excited to figure out how we can augment doing virtual events with in-store stuff. One of the reasons why, I know other stores like Poison Pen have streamed their events live for years. One of the reasons why we never did it is because sometimes there are certain things that authors might potentially talk about if they're in a bookstore and there are no cameras on. Like, it could be, hey, I have a movie deal that I'm not allowed to announce yet, or hey, here's this story that I don't want it potentially to live on the internet forever. So I think there are some things like that you potentially lose with virtual events. So we were even trying to figure out, if we were going to stream events, maybe we stream the author talk, but when it came to the Q&A portion of it, we turned off the cameras, and the Q&A could be specifically for the people that were in the store. So we're definitely looking at stuff like that. But also, It's been so great to connect with cozy writers who I've enjoyed. Like we've gotten to chat with you multiple times throughout the pandemic, and we have been lucky to host you at the store, one time. But it's been really great to see people like to get to chat with like Sherry Harris or Abby Collette or Daryl Wood Gerber, and just people that like I've known online for years and just would potentially not be able to come to the store, and also get to pair people up. Like we got to pair you and Kate Carlisle up together, which was a blast to get to talk to you guys. So I think that you're going to see a lot of stores still doing virtual stuff. I think it's probably going to pivot a little bit more to bundling it with book sales, because there definitely needs to be a way to figure out. We love doing the virtual events, but they definitely don't sell as many books specifically for our store. I think that they still sell a lot of books, but I think they potentially sell a lot of books in other retail channels as well. So I think you'll see probably a little bit more like purchase the book from the store and you'll be able to watch a virtual event, stuff like that. But I think that there's definitely, I think publicists are still looking at ways that they can do stuff like that. And, there are always times where a bookstore has loved a book and the author just isn't traveling or the author lives overseas. So we're really looking forward to being able to do stuff like that. Like, hey, we were super excited about this and I know there's not a budget, but what can we do? So I think you're going to see a lot of hybrid stuff once we start figuring out kind of what the world looks like.
Yeah, I love that. The tech guy's telling me I still have 2 more questions. Sorry. We kind of did this one. We've got the Halloween rom-coms. Is there anything else that you're currently reading that you're like, I'm loving this?
So I am like 75% into, oh my God, I'm doing that thing that people do. I'm completely blanking on her name.
I know, I do it all the time. It's the worst.
So, it's on my iPad, which is in the other room. Is it Elizabeth Penny's Chapter and Curse?
Oh, yeah. I think Elizabeth Penny, that's right. Yeah.
So I'm like 70% of the way into Chapter and Curse. I'm absolutely loving it, but I'm really excited. What I'm doing right now is I'm rereading all of the Practical Magic books by Alice Hoffman, because there is a sequel to Practical Magic that is the Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock characters' daughters from the movie, like grown up, and that's coming out in October. So I'm rereading all of them before that comes out. So I'm super excited for that.
Oh, I am down for that 100%.
Yeah.
And what about the holiday? Do you have any like holiday reads flagged for November, December?
I do. I'm super excited. Louise Innes has the 3rd book in her series. Her main character works at a hair salon in England. So the 3rd one of those is coming out in a couple of weeks. Darcy Hannah's Murder at the Christmas Cookie Bake Off is coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm super excited about that. Mary Kay Andrews has a Christmas novella coming out, I think also at the end of September. That tends to be when a lot of the Christmas stuff starts coming out. And it's about a character who finds a note in a Santa suit and is trying to figure out who this person that left this note was, and it has like ties back to World War II. So I'm super excited about that. I'm slightly bummed that I'm done with all of my Leslie Meyer books, because she themed so many of them around the holidays.
I know.
I don't have any of those ones to read. I read them too quickly.
Those got me started. Like that was one of my entries in that Diane Watt Davidson, and then there was the one about the nun, the holiday murders. We've been through this before, not you and me, but I've been through this on a live, and somebody knows and they'll tell me. They're long out of print. My grandmother read them, and they were in like the 80s, I think. But the theme was holiday murders. Anyway, okay, let's go to questions from readers. Renee, John, I've never met you or been in person in the store, but I've ordered many books online. You've always seemed so helpful and friendly. Thank you. I will have to check out your cozy corner. Aw.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny because the store also has a subscription box where I pick out a cozy and I send it to people. And I'm always slightly worried that as a bookseller who reads so many cozies that my taste is different than everybody else's. So I'm always afraid I'm going to like pick something and everyone's going to be like, oh no, that's terrible. Why would you pick that? And if I potentially picked it because it's different. So sometimes I wonder, if I liked something that's different, is it too different from what everybody else reads? So it's always nice to hear that people are enjoying the stuff that they see and pick up.
That's awesome. Let's see. Cherri wants to know, what are the cozy rules? I mean, I know I have an idea what I think they are, but I'm curious what you think they are. Are we the same, or
So,
will we battle on this?
oh, that's interesting. So generally, the books take place in a small town, or if they take place in a larger city, it happens to be like kind of a suburb or a smaller neighborhood in the town, so you still get that small town feel. There is no graphic language. There's no graphic violence. There's no graphic sex. If the characters do hook up, it's generally a fade to black situation. The character is always an amateur sleuth. They stumble across the body, and it's usually something like they've been poisoned or maybe they've been stabbed, but there's no like gruesome details. And usually they solve the crime without the help of the local police. Usually it's by talking to the community and getting out into the community that they solve the mystery. There are some, like Jen McKinley, her character, like one of the cousins is a local police sheriff. Obviously in Ellie's series, you know, she gets some help from the professor sometimes solving stuff, but usually
she rarely
it's not.
solves the crime.
And you know, usually it's, you know, the character is at odds with the local police because they're sort of inserting themselves into the investigation. I don't know. So what do you think? Did I differ from you anywhere?
No, I think perhaps the thing that triggered it was usually animals don't die. No kids die, no animals die. Yeah.
There's usually some kind, yeah, and there's usually some kind of hook, which is usually like the profession of the main character, or a hobby that they have. That's sort of the thing that kind of gets you into the series.
Totally. Paula wants to know what your Instagram account is, and the tech guy already has a slide for that. Look at that. John's Cozy Corner. So great. It reminds me of our kiddo loved cars when he was little, and Sally's Cozy Cone. So every time I see that, I have this like moment of, oh. What do you think is next for John's Cozy Corner? Like where do you see it going, or is it just for fun?
So far, it's just for fun. You know, at some point, I would love to be able, you know, once we transition to being able to do some more in-store stuff, and I'm not on Facebook or YouTube for the store every night, I would love to do some more author chat stuff. But you know, Zoom fatigue and Zoom burnout, I understand is real for a lot of people. So a lot of the energy for that right now is going into interviewing people. And, you know, we've been doing a lot more where I can just kind of set it up and I don't have to interview, but we have a lot of interview stuff coming up. So that's been taking a lot of energy. So I definitely love to do that. I got to do my first, cover reveal for the new Victoria Laurie book, which was really cool. That was one of the things that made me feel like a real bookstagrammer, because it's like, oh, I get to do a cover reveal. So I'm super excited to be able to do some more stuff like that. You know, if you do follow, I try on Tuesdays to post all the new releases that have come out, or a majority of the new releases that are coming out. Usually on Thursdays, like I said, I try to do some kind of Throwback Thursday series review, and I've been doing some like Q&A stuff on Wednesdays, just asking random cozy questions like, what's your favorite kind of cozy, things like that. So I feel like in the last couple of weeks, I might not have been as up on posting just because of other stuff going on. But I'm definitely trying to at least get something up, you know, at least a couple times a week. So I'm at the moment just trying to keep that momentum going. But yeah, at some point I would love to be able to do some like Instagram live chats with authors too.
I love that idea. That's so great. And you have to go follow him, because if you need book recommendations going into the holiday season, which you need now because you're going to pre-order those books from an independent bookstore, then John's going to hook you up. So it's non-negotiable, basically. It has to happen. Judy says, Sister Carol Ann. Yes. Was the mystery author who wrote the St. Helen series. She was your 8th grade teacher back in the 1960s? What?
Wow.
How amazing is that? Oh my gosh. I had no idea, and we could like do a whole live just on that. That's amazing. And Jamie also says that one key thing we forgot about the cozy is Jamie will inevitably yell, "Don't do it!" at least once. Yeah, like, why are you going into that closet? Don't go down that dark alley. Yeah. Yes. Oh, the cell phone. That's why, like, you know, Diane Mott Davidson, Sue Grafton, she was so smart to set Kinsey in the 1980s and never move her because there wasn't an issue with cell phone. So it was a hard balance. Like, how do you have a character who seems smart and savvy and, you know, a feminist, and then, you know, they never have their phone?
Yeah. And there's always that moment at least once. And I think personally, as a reader, I think you get one of these in a book where the character says something like, "Oh, I didn't think like what I wondered what was the worst that could happen. Oh, I didn't know how wrong I could be." Like I
You
think
could die.
there's always at least one of those, and I think you get one of those in a book. And if you use that more than once, then I sort of give you the side eye.
Yeah, then it's done. KJ said, I'm super excited to hear about Murder by the Book. I'm in Houston often. I can't wait to stop by. Stop by and say hi to John. He'll
Yeah,
hook you
definitely
up.
come visit. I am, if you do come by, I'm not there on Mondays, and at the moment the store is closed on Sundays. So Sundays and Mondays, I'm not there. But yeah, please come in and visit. I love recommending cozies. I love getting people started on new series. There's always at least the cozy corner display rack up, and then I also have at least one cozy on my staff pick shelf too. We actually, when you come into the store, we have all around the front counter or all of the new release paperbacks, and there's literally like a bookcase that's just all the new cozies. It's sort of like when you used to go into Barnes & Noble or Borders when Harlequin Romances were still doing like the monthly series stuff, and they had like the dedicated rack to those. We essentially have like a dedicated new cozy bookcase in the store.
You've made your own. Yeah, you're modernizing it. I love it. Oh no, don't even respond. We have an ongoing debate about Christmas in our house, and don't give him any fodder.
I love it.
Don't give him any encouragement. John, as always, it's a delight. I'm not exaggerating when I say you should go follow him on Instagram because you're going to get book recs. You're going to get all of his awesomeness. You'll create even more cozy community. It's the best. Yeah, there it is. Thanks so much for being on, and hopefully one day soon we'll be able to be back for real life events too.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me to do this. It's such a joy. You know, I'm such a fan of your books, and I love you. And you know, we definitely need to get you back to Houston so we can go grab beers again. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I'll just come to Houston for the beer. Really, I don't even need to do a signing. Yeah,
we've got a guest room with your name on it. It's totally yours.
Done. Happy reading. Okay, I'm serious. You must go follow him on Instagram because you're going to get so much goodness from him. And he's honestly just the best. He's done so much for the mystery, the cozy world in general, and he's a delight. I know. I'm glad you all agree. Right? So great. Okay, next up, next week. Oh, no, first we're going to talk books. Right. If you are in a pre-order mood, The Cure for What Ails You, the 5th book in the Sloane Krause series, comes out October 5th. So that is up and available for pre-order now, as is book 14. I'm working on, well, I'm not even going to tell you. We'll talk about it next week. Book 14 of the Bake Shop, Bake, Borrow, and Steal, comes out at the end of December. So definitely, if you're interested in this one, get your pre-orders in now. You could probably pre-order them directly from John. That's what I would do. Because they're, right now, neither of these titles are delayed, but who knows what's going to happen. So, yeah. George, October 5th is your sister's birthday. Yay. Love that. Happy birthday to her. Oh, yeah. And Sabina, you can totally pre-order or recommend it from your library or put it on a library hold. That's always great, too. Libraries are going to have probably shortages as well. But really, my PSA to you is more about just books in general. If you are holiday shopping, I'm not talking my books, any books, like, do it soon, and please support independent bookstores because the holiday season is where they make the vast majority of their income for the rest of the year. And so if they're not able to get as many books in or titles that they, thought would be bestsellers, it could have a trickle-down effect. Okay, next week, my dad is going to be here visiting. So you have been asking, and we are going to do Shakespeare School. In fact,
the professor,
yeah. The inspiration for the professor will be here in Ashland, in the house. And so bring all your Shakespeare questions, bring all your questions about what it was like raising a mystery writer daughter, you name it. He will be here. We'll have some fun together. I told him that he could not do any prep for this. He can't be like cramming because he's not actually teaching anymore. He's retired. So we'll see if we can put him to the test. Let's turn the tables. It used to always be that he would, throw out a soliloquy and make me say what it was. And now Now he's going to be in the hot seat. On the 28th, the tech guy is going to bake something beerish. Are you talking about where you're baking it?
Not yet.
No, it's a surprise. It's a big surprise. And then we'll have the launch party for The Cure for What Ails You. We're going to do a fall cozy reads and warm drinks. I'm going to share what I'm reading this fall, all my cozy reads, which some of which, kind of like Joan is talking, are not necessarily a mystery, but they're still in the cozy world. I have an event with Rediscovered Books on October 19th, so no live that night, but you're all invited to come join in there. And then last but not least, we will have a Halloween bash in Jamie's honor on October 26th. So that's the lineup. I'm so glad, as always, to spend a Tuesday night with you. And hopefully some of you are new to John and you're going to get to now be in his cozy world too. Hooray for that. On that note, happy reading.